Hello everyone, and welcome to the Health Coach videos and the Health Coach Video Educational Network. What we're going to be talking about today is a chronic condition that faces over 70% of the American population. And here's the issue and why we really need to talk about it. Most people don't know they even have it. It can be manifested externally in a number of ways, from constantly being tired, from all kinds of skin eruptions, from in women in terms of an internal yeast infection. In men, it can be manifested as athlete's feet and jock itch and all these different things that we try to solve, and it's solved temporarily, but then it pops up again. And so we're going to take you inside the human body today with Dr. Gary Shima and talk about a potential plague that we have, so to speak, throughout America and throughout the world because of our diet and a number of different things. And I'm going to let him explain why that happens. And with no further ado, we're going to go to Dr. Gary Shima, who's director of the Health and Longevity Institute here in San Diego, California. And he's going to take you through that. So welcome, Dr. Gary. Dr. Gary's been in practice for, sometime he doesn't want to mention it, for over 35 years. And during that tenure, most of his life, for 15 to 20 years, the beginning of his practice was in straightforward medical allopathic. You got a problem, here's a prescription. Then he began to realize what the human body could do and turn to the whole preventive concept of anti-aging and nutrition counseling and letting the body do what it does. And he has a tremendous practice here in San Diego, California, and has helped literally thousands of people get back on track when they've basically given up hope. And so he's going to be talking about one of the most misdiagnosed issues in America today, something called Candida. Dr. Gary, welcome.
Yes, thank you, Vince.
Give us an overview of this little single cell thing that causes so many problems.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, we need to know that our body is basically functioning in a healthy state, and things have got to be thrown out of balance before we start seeing any kind of symptom or disease condition. And one of the first things that takes place when we're born is that our intestinal tract is seeded or developed with good bacteria, good healthy bacteria that allow for proper digestion, keep our immune system strong, and allow us to be in this steady state of health. But soon what happens is that there's an imbalance of this good flora, and we seem to be coming in contact with an excess amount of yeast, a yeast form, which is a fungus called Candida. And this can happen when we get antibiotics early in our life. We have too much stress. We have certain hormones. We have steroids. There's lots of things that affect this overgrowth of yeast. So normally there's a little bit of yeast in our intestinal tract with lots of these good bacteria that promote health. When the yeast overgrows, becomes excessive, it now becomes a competitor and actually tends to cause and weaken our system to produce disease states.
So, Dr. Gary, I think you and I had this conversation before. Something called it's an unusual state where a substance or a cell can maintain two different states. Isn't the proper word diamorphic? It can change from
right. It changes
with the overgrowth. It's a good thing that we have, but then it can become a bad
thing. And the bad thing is then it's not as recognizable from our immune system when it gets excessive. And in a state like that, it can actually penetrate and invade the lining of our intestinal tract and then produce malfunction of that digestive tract. We can start not absorbing nutrients that we need. We can become deficient in our body. We have certain cravings then if we become deficient. We start eating more sugary things. More sugar tends to feed the yeast, and we begin to have more symptoms. We get dizzy. We have headaches. We have allergies starting to show up. Our food doesn't digest. We get these food allergies that normally. So it's like a cycle that begins to start. And then it becomes so diffuse, you can't tell exactly what happened. You've got headaches. You may be spacey in your brain. You don't concentrate